Alrighty, thanks everyone for being here. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Tori Greaves. I'm the Entrepreneurship Manager here at the Collider. Welcome to everyone. Who is it their first time at the Collider? First timers? Okay, so room of regulars, nice. Great, so you all probably know about the Collider, but if anyone has questions or wants to chat more about the Collider, or if you're interested in giving a lunch and learn after being inspired by Sophie's talk, you can come speak with me after as well. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm very grateful to have Sophie Mullenix here, who is the program coordinator for the Blue Horizons project. And she's going to be speaking to us about our own county. So it's really fun to do something hyper local for today's lunch and learn. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Sophie. Thanks so much.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. I'm really impressed by this attendance. No pressure at all. So first of all, I would like to show a video about the Blue Horizons Project, and it'll kind of lead into what we're going to talk about today. Hopefully this goes off without a hitch. I'm going to turn down the volume. Great.
This is where we live. Every mountain and town, every stream and shop, every forest and farm. No one knows them better than we do, because to us, this is more than a destination. It's our home. It's where we grow up, work, play, and live. But as our community expands, so does our need for energy. And if not managed carefully, this need could threaten what we value most, our home. That's why local businesses, city and county governments, nonprofits, and individuals have come together to form the Blue Horizons Project, a partnership dedicated to working with all the communities of Buncombe County to help preserve our home. And each of us has a role to play. Through the Blue Horizons Project, you'll discover the many ways you can lower energy usage, access renewable energy, and set the course for clean energy in Blue Horizons forever. Help keep our horizons blue. Visit bluehorizonsproject.com.
Okay, so I'm going to go into a little bit of how we got here today and talk about the entities and the activity within our community that led to the creation of the Energy Innovation Task Force, as well as the Blue Horizons Project. So the Blue Horizons Project is a community-wide effort dedicated to creating a cleaner energy future here in Buncombe County. And to do that, as all community efforts need, we need everybody involved, no matter where you stand in our community. So the Blue Horizons Project is supported by 16 different entities. These are the partners of the Energy Innovation Task Force, and I'll go into what the Energy Innovation Task Force is in a moment, but the partners include at the leadership table, the City of Asheville, Buncombe County, Duke Energy, and the Greenbelt Alliance. But we also are partnering with Sundance Power Systems, Sierra Club, New Belgium, UNCA, the Buncombe County Tourism and Development Authority, Community Action Opportunities, Self-Help Credit Union, Green Opportunities, the Sustainability Advisory Council on Energy and the Environment at the city, Biltmore Farms, and Mission Health. And the goal of the Blue Horizons Project is to enlist public support and grant easy access to the resources and programs that help everyone save energy in their homes and businesses in our region. And as well, support the adoption of more renewable energy. So a lot of history and events took place to get us to where we are today. In 2007, the City of Asheville adopted its carbon reduction goal. And in 2012 to 2015, we saw the Asheville Beyond Coal campaign. In 2013, Asheville adopted a clean energy resolution. And the county in 2013 also adopted its carbon reduction plan. And in May 2015, Duke Energy committed to closing the Lake Julian coal plant and announces its first Western North Carolina modernization project. In July to October of 2015, we saw the Carolina Land Coalition campaign, which was an outgrowth of the Asheville Beyond Coal campaign. In October of 2015, Asheville adopted the Clean Energy Framework, which built upon the 2013 Carbon Reduction Plan and Clean Energy Resolution. And so what all this was several years of community action. What we saw is that our region is experiencing just explosive growth in terms of population and tourism. And in order to meet the energy needs of that explosive growth, Duke Energy needed to, they're required to meet those energy needs. And so what they proposed was building a lot of new infrastructure in our community that would run through our beautiful mountains and in our homes and neighborhoods, as well as the building of new fossil fuel fired power plants. So there was a lot of pushback. And in November of 2015, something really incredible happened. Duke Energy came to the table and listened to community feedback, and they revised their modernization plan to remove the transmission lines. It would have been a 40-mile large transmission line coming from South Carolina all the way up through to Buncombe County. It is going to build two 270 megawatt natural gas power plants instead of one 650 megawatt plant, excuse me. And it also included in the plan a 190 megawatt peaker unit to be built in 2023. They also added in 5 megawatts of battery storage, 15 megawatts of solar, and also they wanted to come to the table and form a partnership to delay or avoid construction of the peaker power plant that was planned for 2023. In February 2016, we formally created the Energy Innovation Task Force, which is the partnership of those 16 entities that we talked about earlier. And the city and the county and Duke sat at the leadership table of that. And it is a really unique partnership for the utility in a city to partner with the city and the county and want to work at the community level to reduce energy usage in order to avoid building new infrastructure. We haven't really seen this in many other parts of the United States, which is pretty awesome. So because it is an innovative partnership, we applied for and were invited to the Rocky Mountain Institute's eLab Accelerator in April 2016. And what that is a 4-day workshop where different experts who are on the leading edge of clean energy and electricity technologies, they work together on an innovative problem. So the city and the county and Duke brought our region's energy use and wanting to reduce our region's energy use to the table at the Rocky Mountain Institute. And they formulated a really long report of different data sets about how we use our energy. So it was really, really informative because we now know more than ever about how our region consumes electricity. And then it also provided a laundry list of recommendations of how we could mitigate it. And finally, we have in February 2018, we just hit our 1-year anniversary, the Blue Horizons Project was launched as the public-facing campaign of the Energy Innovation Task Force. So sometimes some people conflate the EITF and the Blue Horizons Project, but the EITF is still going strong. The Blue Horizons Project is simply the public-facing community engagement project of the Energy Innovation Task Force. So I wanted to share something that came out of the Rocky Mountain Institute's report, which is the way our region experiences peak demand. Is everyone familiar with what peak demand is? Can anyone tell me what peak demand is? Typically, yes, it's sort of, for those of you online, the audience person said that it's like the rush hour of energy use during the day when everyone comes home from work and is cranking all their devices and their energy at home. So what is unique about our region in terms of our peak demand is that we experience a peak in the winter. The rest of the Southeast experiences peak in the summer. Summer afternoons when it's 95 degrees, like think about hot Atlanta when you're cranking your AC, you're coming home from work and wanting to cool off, kick back. But in our region, we experience it on the coldest winter mornings, those 5 to 10 mornings a year where it's 10 degrees, 15 degrees, and everyone at 6:30 a.m. is waking up at the same time, taking their hot showers, turning up their heat so they can walk around comfortably in their home and do their morning routines. That's our energy rush hour, so to speak. And in our region, the winter peak is 30% higher than our summer peak. We do have a summer peak as well. It's just not nearly as high as our winter peak because of our elevation and the region's characteristics here. So let's see. Shows up pretty well here. It's a lot of colors and a lot of lines, but this is the peak demand challenge. Right, so on the bottom are years, and you can see that the different colors correspond to different energy uses and also different programs. So coal is in black. You see that in 2020, Duke is committed to closing their power plant at Lake Julian, which is a coal-fired power plant. You see that natural gas increases after 2020 because they're replacing the coal plant with 2 natural gas-fired power plants. And then you also see that in 2023, the red striped lines at the top indicate a capacity shortfall. So that is the problem that we are trying to address with the Blue Horizons Project and the Energy Innovation Task Force. We know that because our region is growing, we have lots of people who are moving here, that our demand for energy is going to outpace what's currently installed on our grid. And, yeah. I don't have a very easy, so the question was, what's the carbon footprint of natural gas versus coal? And I don't have an easy answer for that. I'm no expert in energy. I work in community engagement, but what I've heard is that they are both evil, but natural gas is slightly less evil. But so with coal, it's extremely dirty and it creates particulate pollution. But with natural gas, it's the sourcing of it that is, real trouble. And if anyone here can elucidate on that, that would be great. So we heard that natural gas is about 50% cleaner or less impactful than coal when you're just talking about combustion, right? Right, and when we frack natural gas, it releases methane. Sorry, I'm repeating all the questions so people who are remotely in can hear all the questions and the answers. So fracking releases methane, which is an extremely potent greenhouse gas. So DSM is demand side management. So that is one of the strategies that we can employ in our community to reduce our peak energy demand. They consist of programs that are provided by Duke Energy to reduce peak demand during those early morning hours and also the summer afternoons, because we do have 2 peaks, but our winter peak is where we have the most opportunity for reducing our peak energy demand. And the solar capacity does not show up on this graph in particular. No, it doesn't. And I'm not exactly sure why. It's probably just a very small portion, yes. And if you're thinking about, I've heard it in terms of peak and then also just daily usage. I do know that the peaker plant that was planned to be built was a 190 megawatt peaker plant, so that its capacity was 190 megawatts. So I don't have the exact numbers. The question is there any reason why the solar component is so small? And the answer is quite complicated. I point to that North Carolina is a highly regulated and restrictive state in which to install solar, and it's not as easy as it sounds to just slap solar on all our buildings, put it out in farm fields, but it's just quite complicated, and then there are regulatory hoops to go through. Right, and there's cost involved as well. Right, this is older data. Great. Mhm. Okay. Cool. So I want to be mindful of time and just move on. I would love to have more discussion at the end if there is time for that. But thanks so much for your engagement. That's really great. So as we were talking about residential, oh, sorry, we found from the RMI report that the residential sector is a significant driver of winter peak in our region. And that is primarily due to the way we heat our homes in this region. So who here has natural gas heat? And who here has an electric heat pump? That is also what I expected. More people here have electric heat pumps than natural gas heat. And that is precisely why we are having a peak demand issue, is because people are heating their homes with heat and getting rid of their gas furnaces and propane and oil heat in favor of electric heat pumps. And that's not to say that electric heat pumps are bad. They're actually a very efficient technology. But there are some challenges that come with it that a lot of people don't realize. First of all, when you're using a heat pump for heat, it doesn't work efficiently under about 30 degrees outside. And you all know that we experience many days and many times of the day that are below 30 degrees. So when it's below 30 degrees, in order to heat your home, your heat pump turns on its auxiliary heat, also known as heat strips. And that is essentially heating your home with a toaster. So literally little toaster red strips come on in your heat pump, and that's the heat. It's no longer using the heat exchanger in your heat pump, it's using that toaster heat. And that's incredibly power hungry and incredibly inefficient, and that's what's coming on those early mornings. Everybody's heat strips are coming on. And then secondly, we just see mass installation of heat pumps because they're convenient. They have both AC, they have both AC and heat, and so it's a cost-effective measure to install if you're building a home or thinking about retrofitting your HVAC at your home. So another fun graph, you can see the gray bars are the winter months in our region, and the black line is our energy use. And the blue line is residential energy use, and you can see that it correlates pretty well with the gray bars, that during the winter months, residential peak spikes. Also interesting is that commercial and industrial and wholesale energy use doesn't really correlate as significantly with winter peak, which I find interesting. So this really elucidated for us that we really needed to target and focus our efforts on residential energy use for this program. So like I said, electric heating is the culprit. We're all installing and using a lot more electric heat than we used to in the past. Propane and natural gas remain static or even going down, but electric is continuing to rise. So this begs the question, what can you do? It would be great if all of us could afford to build net zero energy homes and install solar and drive electric cars that were not powered by coal, but not everyone can afford that, and there is definitely an equity component involved in how we address our energy use. So I'm going to talk about some of the strategies that the Rocky Mountain Institute report identified that we should promote and get access to in our region. So for your home, Duke Energy has a demand response program called EnergyWise Home. And this is a program that is meant to reduce our winter peak and our summer peak. And this program installs a smart switch on your electric heat pump, your electric hot water heater, or your AC. And during times of peak demand, it will cycle those appliances down. Most participants do not notice it, and I can attest to that. And that will just kind of reduce the strain on the grid. And for participating in this program, they give you $175 per year maximum in bill credits. So definitely a really good program. I don't notice it at all. My dad's has had it in his house since 2001, has never noticed any reduction in comfort or really notice it at all. And last year, this program, Duke only had to activate the switches for six times in the whole year for about 30 minutes on average. So it's not like every day they're cutting off your heat. So I have some information in the back about that if you'd like to join. Additionally, you can get a free home energy assessment. Someone can come to your home. This is from a Duke Energy contractor, and they will analyze your home, do a walkthrough with you, talk about some behavior habits that you can do, such as adjusting your thermostat to a reasonable level in the winter and summer. They'll also identify areas where you may be lacking insulation or air sealing. They bring some products with them, like LED light bulbs, faucet aerators, low flow shower heads, to help you reduce your energy. Additionally, I mentioned the equity piece. So we often see that, well, first of all, I want to step back and talk about our low-income community in Buncombe County. So 40% of Buncombe County is at or below 200% of area median income. And for one person, that is an income of $30,000. There are also, I believe, 18,000 mobile homes in Buncombe County, which is just an incredible amount. And a lot of them are really antiquated, built in 1970, 1980, and essentially are like living in tin boxes, and they are often in disrepair. So the RMI report identified low-income residential weatherization as like a very needed portion of our program's portfolio. So what we do is we provide free weatherization for low-income homes who make 200% or below of the area median income. And that's a completely volunteer-run program, especially for mobile homes. And that is run through Energy Savers Network. And if you would like to volunteer doing this, I have a sign-up sheet in the back. You can also find more information about them on our website, horizonsproject.com. Additionally, we do some deeper retrofits that are more than just the basic weatherization, and that's in partnership with Community Action Opportunities. We also designed our website to be a comprehensive resource hub, so anybody can go to our website and find something that they can do or plug into to reduce their energy use, whether it's in your business, your home, if there's a family you know who's in need, there's something on there for everybody. We actually made it easier to navigate to than Duke's own website. All right, sorry, there's a question in the back. So the question was that in observation, it appears that undocumented immigrants tend to live in higher concentrations in trailers, and is there any policy about us needing documentation? And the answer for Energy Savers Network is no, absolutely not. We'll help everyone and take them at their word. If they're trying to get access to the Weatherization Assistance Program that's delivered through Community Action Opportunities, I imagine that they'll run into some documentation issues because they'll need to provide proof of income. But we would be happy to come and visit her, yeah, and do an assessment at the very least. But yeah, that's one of the struggles. Yes, hi. The question is there any participation at the city level for public housing? So it's complicated, and the answer is yes. So the Housing Authority is not actually run by the city, it's its own entity. And there are partnerships being discussed and on the table that will hopefully, in any new construction, there will be more greenly built, more efficiently built. And then we're also talking about doing some retrofits on some of the buildings. The problem and the perennial problem is funding. Yes, sir. So the question was, Green Opportunities is involved in this work and as a partner with the Blue Horizons Project, and that they have done workforce development programs in the past for weatherization-specific work. That is always front of mind for us. Workforce development is actually one of our goals for this year, and that can look like different things. It can look like a job training program. It can also look like inviting someone from a weatherization type company like Conservation Pros, or someone from the solar industry like Sundance Power to come and speak to a group of trainees. The problem is that Asheville's job market is really, really tough. There's only ever like one job available at any given time for like weatherization work. So providing pathways to jobs once you do job training seems to be the issue, and it's a really tough nut to crack. We are definitely very aware of it, and we talk with Jay Hackett at Green Opportunities about this quite frequently, and we're doing what we can to address it. So similarly for your business, there's an EnergyWise Home or EnergyWise Business program that is also demand response. And this actually gives you quite a lot of bill credits, more than the home energy or the EnergyWise Home program. It's based on how much you want to dial down your equipment. So it's a little bit more comprehensive of a program. You can also get rebates for doing energy efficiency retrofits on your facility. So if you have a restaurant and you want to upgrade your lighting to LEDs, Duke will often pay up to 60 to 80% of project costs for that. You just need to work with them throughout the process. And the payback on lighting, on LED lighting retrofits, is like 18 months to 2 years. There's really no reason not to retrofit to LED. So if any of you are in a restaurant, I do this all the time. I'm eating out downtown and I notice, oh, they have those fancy Edison bulbs. Did you know there's an LED version of that? I often will talk to whoever's in charge, and I'm sure annoy the heck out of them. It's not front of their mind, but it always is on my mind. And again, there are business resources on bluehorizonsproject.com. And we're always adding more to it. Yes. Good question. The question is, if you run your business out of your home, can you qualify for this program? The answer is, I don't know. It's worth the conversation and a question. The question was, Mission Health was involved at the table, and honestly, their engagement has not been as robust because of the Hospital Corporation of America sale. So I don't have an update on that. I do know that the Hospital Corporation of America does have, at every hospital that they have, a sustainability coordinator, and we are trying to identify who that would be, but the sale is currently underway and there's a lot of transition and uncertainty, so it's difficult. Our interest was primarily in their facilities' energy use and reducing that energy use. So a little bit more about what we are doing and on the EITF level. So the city of Asheville towards this effort, has committed over $400,000 in funding. They've also undertaken a 100% renewable energy goal by 2030. They provide education and training for city employees on energy efficiency and how to be more energy efficient in your home. And this is something that we're looking to replicate. So if you would like to have one of us come and deliver a talk on home energy efficiency to you or your employees or your church group, we would be happy to do that, no cost. They're completing comprehensive energy efficiency audits for select city facilities. For the low-income weatherization program that we run, they've provided matching grant funds, and they're upgrading commercial buildings, and they're helping and partnering with us on implementing the Blue Horizons project. Buncombe County has created its own sustainability office recently. They also have a clean energy fund, which is part of what funds our work, and that is to provide energy audits and also help pay for solar installations on county buildings or county projects and nonprofits. They've committed to 100% renewable energy for municipal operations by 2030, like the city, and then community-wide by 2042. They're always looking for ways to improve the energy efficiency of their public buildings. That they're helping to implement the Blue Horizons project, and they are adding 5 megawatts of solar on the Bunker County landfill. So in this unique partnership, Duke has come to the table and really listened to the community's pushback on the modernization plan that they proposed. And so they have amended their modernization plan now to install storage capacity. This is batteries of at least 19 megawatts. That's well beyond their initial commitment of 5 megawatts. They're also adding 15 megawatts of solar to our energy generation mix. They are offering a solar rebate program, which some of you may have heard of, to help offset the cost of commercial and residential and nonprofit solar installations. Now, that is a wildly popular program. And for residential and business customers, it's actually fully subscribed for this year. However, there's still opportunities for nonprofits to take advantage of this. And the reimbursement rate or the rebate is 75 cents per watt installed, up to $75,000. So still pretty incredible. When you pair that with the federal tax credit that goes through the end of this year, you can cover quite a lot of a project cost that way. They are supposedly developing a community solar program, although this feels a little bit stalled at this point with House Bill 589. I have not heard anything in a long time about this, which is unfortunate. House Bill 589 is a House bill that talks about the regulation of solar, and that's what allowed the solar rebate program to be launched. So it has to do with the way that solar is able to be installed in our state. I don't know all the nitty-gritty about it, I'm sorry. It's a bill. It's not tax rebates, it's just rebates. So like you would pay for the purchase and installation of a solar system, and then you would get a rebate after the fact. But I believe there's more components to House Bill 589, and if anyone else is more familiar with it, I'd love for you to jump in. No? Okay. Yeah, it's a can of worms, so we'll leave it at that. But it does seem to be limiting the solar installation rate, at least in my mind. Yes, it's a can of worms. Okay. So like I've said, it's a unique partnership to have Duke Energy even at the table. And so we take that with a grain of salt, and we understand that Duke Energy is a very massive Fortune 500 company and corporation with different interests. However, at our level, the people that we deal with at Duke, we find to be incredibly wonderful and innovative and supportive. And we are, trust me, I'm always pushing them to do more. I often get told, well, it's just not possible right now, or it'll just take, 5 years instead of 1 year to do something. But rest assured, Duke Energy knows that they need to evolve, because it's clear that our community and communities around the country want more than what they have to offer right now. Additionally, Duke is installing by 2019 advanced metering infrastructure which provides more functionality and access to energy use data at the meter level at your home. So you may have received a smart meter installed at your home, and the potential of this is pretty cool. So it'll allow Duke to communicate with your meter and know if there are power outages around your community. So there will be fewer outages, faster repairs to outages. And then what's also very appealing to me is that there will be an app that you can use with your home energy meter to know by time of day how much energy you're actually using and consuming. And I always am a proponent of knowing more about your energy use so you can know how to reduce it. As referenced before, we have a Blue Horizons Energy Upgrade Program. And this is the program that provides zero-cost weatherization work for low-income homes. So the Energy Innovation Task Force has a couple of different working groups, and one of them of note is the Technology Working Group. This is a group of different community members who are very deep and expert in their fields of geothermal, electric vehicles, solar, battery storage, peak demand reduction, and they help inform the work of the Energy Innovation Task Force, make sure that these leading and up-and-coming technologies are incorporated into the work that we do. And these are some of their focus areas right now: advanced metering infrastructure, solar energy, electric vehicles, modern heat pumps. So I talked about how heat pumps are a very efficient technology, just not in all regions and not in all climates. But there are newer, more efficient heat pumps on the market that do better in colder climates. So right now they're doing actually a cold climate heat pump pilot where we're taking 4 pretty identical homes, installing traditional heat pumps in 2 of them, and cold climate more efficient heat pumps in the other 2. And they're going to study the energy use and see, look at different metrics about how they compare in terms of cost, energy use, occupant comfort. We also have experts on energy storage and net zero building on that community as well. And sorry, you have a question? The question is about, in different neighborhood groups, there's been some chatter and pushback on the smart meter installation, and I'm very well aware of that. And I don't know that it's stalling anything. I think it's a very small minority of people who are pushing back. And the concern is about data privacy and also RF emissions. So I don't want to get into a controversial topic right here, but all the research that I've been privy to indicates that smart meters are, they emit less RF than your cell phone, and for very, very infrequent, tiny times per day. But there's, it's another maybe can of worms type issue. Yeah. So apparently 5G is a much bigger health issue than smart meters. No, it's not. It's not, and it is a public relations issue for Duke, and Duke is not very well trusted in our community, and I know the reasons why. And they can, they are doing their best, I think, although the communications strategy comes down from a very high level and is often disconnected from what's happening here in our local community, and they know that. So every time I'm in a neighborhood group or on a Facebook post in Wax, I push that to our community relations person at Duke who reads that and takes that into account. Yep, the chatter is real. Yeah, there's a lot on the internet about the smart meter controversy if you want to take a look, but I just urge everybody to do their research and look for evidence-based, peer-reviewed studies when you're doing any sort of research on the internet. That's great practice, right? Okay. So we had our 1 year or we will have our 1 year anniversary next month, and there will be some type of fanfare to be determined. But in 2019, we will continue to do the community engagement and marketing work that we've been doing to get the word out about what programs and resources exist in our community to help people lower their energy use no matter who they are. I also plan to engage multifamily landlords and developers in order to have a bigger impact in a shorter amount of time. So the idea is to get a hold of a landlord or a multifamily developer and influence them to do energy efficiency retrofits or another type of projects on all of their facilities at once. Same goes with large commercial and institutional energy use. We want to go after the largest energy users in our community and get them to reduce their energy use. So the question is, who's the largest energy user in our community? And that's actually, confidential data. I don't even know. So energy use data is private, and that's actually been a sort of a hiccup in some of the work we do. So we know a lot about our energy use, but we don't know at the individual level because that's considered private information, especially at the institutional level. Apparently, if you know the energy use of a facility, it can tell you a lot about the different technologies being used, and you get into all sorts of privacy issues and concerns around that. So we can guess, I would guess that the hospital is in the top 10. Right, so in the public sphere, water use is public, but energy use, since Duke is a private corporation, they cannot release that data, and they won't, to protect their customers' privacy. Additionally, we want to maintain a focus on residential and low-income energy efficiency because that was identified in the Rocky Mountain Institute report as the area of greatest opportunity for reducing our energy use and addressing our peak demand. We want to think really strategically about workforce development and meaningful workforce development, and partnering with different organizations and community partners who work with underserved communities, and think about what that really looks like, and what we don't want to overpromise anything, but we want to maintain a lens of equity in all the work that we're doing. We plan to host education sessions about solar and energy efficiency in partnership with some local solar installers. And we, of course, will be supporting the county and city's 100% renewable implementation plan. We were part of one of the visioning sessions for the implementation plan. So for those of you who don't know, the city and the county have hired the Cadmus Group, who is a consultancy firm out of Boston, and they have worked with different cities in the past to develop a roadmap for, okay, you adopted this resolution, here's how you get there. And so we'll be involved, I think, in maybe one more session, and that plan is going to be released, I think, at the end of this year. I believe they're looking at all facets of energy use in our community. I believe transportation is left out of it. Climate scientists as well. Yeah. And lastly, I did want to say that, that peaker plant that I referenced that was going to be built in 2023 was, excuse me, pushed back to 2027, but then in Duke Energy's integrated resource plan, which is a plan of how they're going to meet our region's energy use that they need to file with the North Carolina Utilities Commission every single year. In their 2018 filing, that peaker plant was no longer in that filing. So that means we have essentially avoided it for the next 15 years. However, this is all great and all, so we can clap and everything, but we are very, very mindful that there could be another peaker plant. Our region's continuing to grow. And as we prepare our region for the adoption of 100% renewable energy, we need to do everything we can to reduce our energy use so we can maximize the efficiency of future renewable installation. The whole adage goes, reduce your energy use before you produce energy. So we're going to continue full steam ahead on the energy efficiency side of things to prepare the way for, the future. So I encourage all of you to take what you've learned. If you learned something here today, that's awesome. Take it into your different arenas, your spheres of influence. I am always happy to talk to people. Yesterday, I got a random phone call from someone who wants to build a new retirement community and do it in the greenest way possible. But I'm always happy to help be a resource concierge and do these kinds of talks, whether it's at your neighborhood group, your church. I would love the opportunity to present more to you and further engage. Thank you so much for your time and your attention and your engagement, and happy to take some questions and have a discussion. Is there a microphone that we should be using for these questions, or shall I just continue repeating the question? Okay, so the question is, have we seen any non-traditional support of the low-income weatherization work that we're doing, such as people who are interested in public health and other metrics that have to do with the benefiting the low-income community? And the answer is not necessarily, although we're quite aware that there are many intersections there, and we are always looking for new funding opportunities. So if you have any ideas, please send them my way. Yes. Yeah, I can go back to it. Mm-hmm. It increases slightly in 2020, but very slightly. That is a question for Duke Energy. They have determined a set amount of money to invest in their energy efficiency programming. Yes. Duke Energy decides how much they want to spend on their energy efficiency programming. Question is, on this bar graph, are the lines, the red lines in the right-hand bars, are they focused on any particular time of day? I believe this is general capacity shortfall. This is not just a peak demand data graph. Yes, Andrew. The question is, for the 100% renewable by 2030 and 2042, where are we at right now? Where we are is the city is working with the CADMIS group to develop the roadmap and implementation plan with the county and the city together. I don't know the different metrics. So it's great and all, and I think it's awesome that we live in this community that wants to adopt 100% renewable energy. However, the challenge is, how are we going to fund that? So when in your daily workings, if you would like to advocate for that, I think that would help push it forward. We have this plan and these ideas, but they need funding. Yes. The peaker plant's cost for construction was set at $150 million of ratepayer funds. So we have avoided that for now. Yeah. Yes. utilities commission. Yes, more questions? Yes, the question is, how would time of use rates play into peak demand? And that is actually something we've discussed, is that potentially, why don't we ask Duke to just default everyone to time of use rates and provide some consumer education about it? So for those of you who aren't familiar, time of use rates, it's different. Your electricity costs something different depending on the time of day, and during peak times it costs more. Overnight, like after 9 p.m., it costs a lot less. So that would, if everybody were on time of use, some pushback has been that that would just sort of reverse the peak. But I think that needs to be further studied and definitely open to conversations about that. Yes. Nonprofits would fall more into the commercial category of different program offerings. We lump them into business and energy and commercial. Yes. Yes. The question is, how do we lump churches and what are the offerings for churches? And yes, I partner very closely with Creation Care Alliance at Mountain True. They have different information sessions for churches who are wanting to do energy efficiency projects and solar projects. Most recently, they are working with 5 to 6 churches who are retrofitting their lighting to be all LED. And so to get the rebates from Duke for business energy efficiency projects, Duke has to know or has to come to the conclusion that it's a worthwhile investment. Churches pose a unique problem because they are only in operation on Wednesday evenings and on the weekends, whereas another business would be operating for at least 40 hours a week, if not more. So the energy you would save is not necessarily that attractive to Duke because Duke, needs to claim these energy savings in order to get cost recovery on their program, on the energy efficiency programs. So these 5 to 6 churches have actually worked with the Asheville Merchants Fund through the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina to help fill the gap in funding. So they're getting about 70 to 80% of the project costs recovered, which is pretty cool. And the question was about Duke's energy sourcing and are they tied into contracts that would prevent them from switching to more renewable sources? And I just do not know. I'm so sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'll take one last question. Mhm. Wow, I don't know how to summarize all of that. No, it's okay. That's wonderful food for thought. And the answer is, have we thought about the future climate of Western North Carolina? Not in our dealings in the past year, but I imagine that it will only become more and more part of the conversation as we learn more and more what our climate will look like. Thank you. And I encourage you all to sign up for our email news listserv. We also have a sign-up sheet for volunteering with Energy Savers Network if you want to get hands-on and doing some weatherization work.